To politics now and the issue of the Medibank sale and other matters. Joining me is the Labor frontbencher Jason Clare. Mr Clare, thanks for your time. In terms of the Medibank sale, the government says it's going to invest up to $4 billion from this sale, which is what the expected price will be, into infrastructure, and in your area, Western Sydney largely, will be the beneficiaries. How can you oppose it?
Well, everyone wants more infrastructure. It's a question of economics. Do you sell the asset now and potentially get a couple of $1 billion, or do you use the $500 million in dividends that this asset provides to taxpayers every year and invest that in infrastructure? If you did that, Kieran, you potentially have more money for the sorts of roads and rail projects that we need in Western Sydney and right across the country.
Now, Tony Burke talks about a dividend of up to $500 million. The Finance Minister this morning has responded to that, saying that last financial year Medibank profits were up by 84% to $233 million, yet Tony Burke wants to hit Medibank for double that in dividend payments every year, that it's unsustainable Labor economics, and that Labor raided Medibank's capital reserves instead of drawing sensible dividends.
No, look, the dividend goes up and down. The bottom line is it provides money to the budget. If we were to sell this asset today, it would mean that the deficit would blow out. As Tony Burke told you this morning, Joe Hockey's decisions have already seen the deficit blow out by $68 billion, effectively doubled over time. And if you were to make this decision, it would mean that the deficit would blow out by up to another $500 million. That's not good economics.
But you're not looking at the productive assets that will be invested in as a result of the sale. They're recycling the asset, aren't they? That's the logic behind this, to put it into more productive assets for the nation.
And I'm all in favour of investing in infrastructure. I worked in the infrastructure industry for 5 years. I get it. The question is, do you do it with a fire sale and get the money now, or do you use the dividends that are coming through this business right now and giving the taxpayers $500 million a year? Over time, that would mean even more money for infrastructure.
But why should government have a place in this market? There's already 30 other providers. Leave it to them.
Well, I'm not an expert here, but look at what the AMA said. They said that if you were to sell this, it would potentially increase prices for private health insurance for the 3.8 million people who are currently customers of Medibank Private.
On the government's draft changes to the Racial Discrimination Act, Indigenous leader Sue Gordon, who led the Northern Territory intervention, was a senior figure in the Indigenous advice to the Howard government. She's come out in support of the Brandis measures. Is she someone that should be listened to in terms of this debate?
Well, Kieran, I've got a very strong view here. Children aren't born racist. It's something that's learnt, it's something that's taught. And by changing the law here, what the government is effectively doing is sending a message to the Australian people that it's okay to offend somebody based on their race, to humiliate someone based on their race, or to insult somebody based on their race, based on the colour of their skin. That's not the sort of country that we are. Most Australians aren't racist, and they'd be looking at what the government's doing and saying, what the hell's going on here? You know, this is back down the time tunnel stuff. This is not the sort of country that Australia is or that we want to be.
But they're saying that bad speech should be countered with good speech, with condemning, bad thoughts or sentiments. Surely, is that not a fair argument that people who are opposed racism should do so, and that should be where the debate is held?
Well, look, that's all fine in theory, but you can't say offensive things to police officers. You get arrested if you do that. I represent a very multicultural part of Australia. People from all around the world. What makes Australia the best country in the world is that we've got people from all around the world living in harmony. Now, if you change these laws, you're sending a message to people that it's okay to abuse people, to insult people, to harass people based on the colour of their skin. That's not the sort of country that I want to live in, not in my name, not in my community's name.
Finally, on the issue of the return of the titles of knights and dames, it was hard for the Labor Party to go too critical on this, given the first dame is your boss's mother-in-law.
This is true. I got a different view to others here. I've seen that John Howard has criticised this. Malcolm Turnbull mocked it overnight. I think it's an inspired decision. The criticism that this is taking us back only a couple of decades, that's wrong. This is taking us back centuries. There's more that we can do here, Kieran. Jousting, duels, powdered wigs, all of it should be on the table as long as it's a round table. What about Jedi Knights? I think that could be a good idea as well.
But this is. I mean, everyone was making jokes about it, and obviously they're continuing this morning. But in terms of recognition for great Australians, I know you think very highly of Peter Cosgrove.
I do. I certainly do.
And Quentin Bryce as well has made a great contribution.
Oh,
why not to give them appropriate recognition?
Oh, and we should recognise them, but we don't have to go back down the time tunnel to do that. We're only a couple of weeks out from the budget. This is the last sitting day before the budget. It's a time when the government should be showing us what the future looks like, not a blast from the past, which is what this is. We've got, old racist laws, getting rid of anti-racist laws, old John Howard legislation on Medibank private, and now they want to bring back knights and dames. Come on, give me a break.
Mr. Clare, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Kieran. Well, Sir Kieran.